Hey guys, Evil here. For this video I'm going to be covering the changes I'm going to do to my my AX10 Scorpion. My AX10's already pretty modded, but it was originally set up as my 2.2 competition rig, but I'm going to be converting it over to make it legal to run in 2.2 Sportsman for 2012 season. So what I'm going to cover here is just over some of the changes I'm making performance wise and just basic maintenance that needs to be done. So here we got my AX10. On the surface it looks pretty much like a standard AX10, got some of the basic mods done, but underneath you'll see that it has aftermarket chassis, or not aftermarket, but a modified chassis, which is, it's just the axial SWX, which is fairly common. Has the 4-link as well as the front axle battery plate, which is all pretty common mods for the AX10. The main issue with this is it has a DNA dig installed, so which is not legal for Sportsman. Taking that off will also eliminate having this big servo on top, which raises my center of gravity quite a bit. So what I'm going to be doing is building up a set of the MIP C-spline drive shafts for it. These are equal length. It has MIPs on it, but the rear obviously is the shorter setup because of the dig. So we're going to be replacing that. I purchased another transmission just because I don't want to take the other one apart to pull the dig off. I'll just have that all in one unit. Plus this AX10 has a lot of hours on it, so putting a new transmission in it's going to be a plus anyway. The big performance mod I'm doing to it is the Underdrive and overdrive setup. Since you can't run dig and Sportsman, the Underdrive and overdrive will give you a dig effect when you're climbing, keeping your torque bias to the front, as well as shortening your turn radius, because you have a drag effect on the rear wheels as they'll be turning slower. And the last thing is doing the HD lockers. My AX10 is the kit version, probably the oldest one out on the market. Still has the aluminum lockers in it, and they're pretty much gone, so the HD lockers seem to hold up pretty well. I'm going to be popping those in, so we'll get started with doing that. Alright, let's get some tools together. Got the trusty Ryobi drill. I've had at least a couple people ask what type of drill I was using. It's just a standard $30 lithium electric screwdriver basically from Home Depot, but I have one of these I use at work as well as at home, and they hold up really well, so $30 well spent. So I've got the gear and pinion apart. I just wanted to show you the locker that comes installed on this older version of AX10. The whole thing is aluminum, and there. They just tend to not stand up to the abuse. This one actually, I mean, it's a little bit tweaked from the axle turning on it, but if you really torque on them, these things will give out on you. The HD lockers should hold up a lot better. Part number for those lockers, AX10500. These kind of have, I don't know if I can get that to focus or not, but They're a lot heavier, that's for sure. And that just drops right in there. Reinstall your gear. Well, this is a part I'm going to be putting in the rear, which is the Underdrive AX10 there's a little bit of change in the gear. You can see that the pinion and the gear on this are spiral cut as opposed to the stocker that's just straight. Not sure what the whole change is there, but I'm sure there must be some improvement or they wouldn't have done it. And there's the new spiral cut gear. And dig transmission removed. And there you can get a decent look at the behind the axle steering and how all that works. And time to put the overdrive in. Just pull those 4 screws out of that ring gear, and then it should come apart. Should being the key word. Don't forget to pull that gasket. Sometimes it will stick to the ring gear. If you don't put that gasket in there, the depth won't be right when you put it back together, and the screws will touch the inside of the axle housing. So don't forget to transfer that over to the new ring gear. And there's the new ring gear installed. And there we go. Got the overdrive and new locker installed. Alright, there's the axle, pretty much ready to go back together. Alright, so basically, since I don't want to go through the trouble of having to tear this apart and pull this dig off of this transmission, the servo mount and all that good stuff, it's a huge pain in the rear. What I did was just picked up an entire another transmission. I'm just going to build this one up. And if I ever need to switch back, or if I get the urge to pop this in a scaler or something, it's already built up and ready to go. For those of you who've never built a crawler transmission, or at least are more used to, say like racing car transmissions, though this gear is slotted to so you could put a ball diff in it. Instead of a ball diff, it just has a locker that goes in there. Two halves of the locker just go together. And with a crawler, you generally don't want differential action. It's not really going to help you. So what you want is strength, so you have a locked differential. I will say I'm not putting any of the axial hardened gears in here. This being a comp crawler, it's a very real possibility I could blow them up. As this is an older AX10 as well, it does not have a slipper, which generally you don't want a slipper on a comp crawler. You want to be able to put that power down to the wheel. You don't want it being slid out. But anyway, these are a little bit more simple than, like, say, an associated stealth transmission, because you don't have to build a ball diff. You just install the locker and then it goes together. The rest of it's basically really similar to a associated stealth type transmission. And there's pretty much your transmission ready to go. Need to pop that dust cap on there. And there we go. Got the spur installed, new transmission built, ready to be bolted back in the chassis. Remounted the transmission backward, which are how all the modern crawlers are built, but that gives you just a little bit more forward bias. Just give it a little bit more weight up front. Alright, well, the roller's pretty much done. Gotta go ahead and build my new drive shaft, so I'll do this again. And I got the drive shafts installed. Looks like I may have to do some trimming on this one, because it looks like it just barely touches the skid. Going to put a JR 8711 on it. This is about 403 ounces of torque. Should be plenty of grunt. Turn these front wheels. For comp crawling, you always want to make sure you have a heavy duty servo horn. Not only does it screw on this side, but it also clamps down on either side of the horn. And you can just see how beefy the thing is. It's a great big beefy servo horn. Robotronic is probably the most popular, but Racer's Edge makes these heavy duty horns and they hold up just fine as well. They're also a little bit cheaper. So, but if you have a plastic horn on your servo, you're going to want to replace that, because these big heavy duty servos will twist those babies right off. So you want something with a little bit of meat to it. Alright, well, I got most of the electronics mounted. I'm actually gluing the receiver in there with some shoe glue. I'm just going to tack it to the edge of the chassis, that way it'll stay there. I don't know if servo tape would hold it. There's just not a lot of chassis to grip onto there, so we'll let that dry and then we'll finish hooking this up. Alright, so we're pretty well wrapped up. Had to reverse direction on the brushless because I switched the direction of the transmission. But I got that done and everything appears to be working just fine. A little bit of roughness in the spur gear. Hopefully that'll wear in. The mesh looks alright, but it seems kind of noisy. Go for a test drive. So, just got back from a test run, and the difference is pretty big. The underdrive overdrive really is a pretty potent combination. I just wanted to shoot this little video segment here to illustrate to you so you can actually see what it does. So, it's real easy to tell when you're rolling this slow. You can tell that the front is spinning quite a bit faster than the back. So, what that's going to do is reduce torque twist. Give it kind of a dragging rear tires effect, or almost a dig effect in a class where dig is not legal. So that gives you, it'll actually help the chassis kind of hunker down a little bit, keep the center of gravity lower, as well as resist flipping over backwards. So pretty big performance improvement on the Sporty.